Okay, so now we're going to find the inverses, and we said, well, the inverses is just where you switch the x and the y, right? So what I've got here these are my x and y values, right? So if they're written as points, you just switch them around. So the inverses would be, right, if I'm going to write all the inverses, I'll use that -1 for the inverses. Go ahead and write it like this. So I would have 0, -2. I'm just going to switch them around. -4, +5, and -7, +11. Right? I just switch those around. Right? Switch the x and the y. That's all you do. That's what the inverse is. All right? The domain and range are switched. Okay. So now if I have an equation, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it out, and I'm going to substitute, I'm going to switch the x and y, right? First step, switch x and y, all right? So instead of y equals, it's going to be x equals -3y plus 5. Okay. Second step, solve for y. All right, so I want to get the y by itself. All right, so here I go. I'm going to subtract 5. All right, so I have x -5. You cannot combine those, and you don't end up multiplying. Okay. And then now I'm going to get rid of the -3 by dividing everything by -3. So I get y equals x -5 all over -3. And I can write that, I can switch it around, and instead of y, I can say f to the -1 power, that means the inverse, equals, and I'll go ahead and write this in slope-intercept form, so that would be -1/3 x, right, that's doing this. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I would do that. So that would be +5/3. I wanted to write that in slope-intercept form. All right. 2 steps. Switch the x and the y, and then solve for y. All right, so let's do that for this next one. So I'm going to switch the x and the y. So I have x equals the square root of y plus 5. All right, now how do I get rid of a radical? Well, the inverse of it is to square both sides. All right, so I'm going to take this side and I'm going to square it, and so I have to square that side. So I get x squared equals, and then this goes away with that, and so I have y plus 5. All right, and then now I'm just going to get that continue, right, taking off the layer, so I'm going to go -5, -5, and so I have y equals x squared minus 5. Right, and I can write that as f to the -1 of x, and it means inverse equals x squared minus 5. I make 2 steps. Switch the x and the y, and then solve for y. Now, if I'm testing 2 things to see if they are inverses, all right, I'm going to use this idea that what inverses do is they get the x by itself, right? That's what we did. They cancel, they make each other go away, right? Like we did here, these were inverses, the square root and the square, all right? These are inverses, all right? They give you the identity. So to get the identity, what I want to get is if I put one into the other, f of g of x, so I'm putting g into f, that's going to give me x. And also, if I take g of f of x, put f into g, I will also get x. Okay, so they kind of give me the identity there. So they like undo each other. So here we go. I'm going to take, I'm going to start writing out f. So f would be 1/5 x plus 9. okay? And now I'm going to put G into F. So I'm going to put a 5x minus 45 in there. Okay, so this is f of g of x. You can see here's g of x inside f of x. And then now I'm going to distribute the 1/5. Okay, so 1/5 times 5 is like dividing by 5. Okay, this is 5 over 1, so those cancel out. So I get 1/5 times 5x is x. And then now I'm going to take 1/5 times 45, so that's like dividing by 5. So 45 divided by 5 is 9, so I get minus 9. Okay, on your calculator, if you take 1/5 times 45, you're going to get 9. Okay? Alrighty. So I get minus 9, and then I bring down that plus 9. And then those add up to 0, so I get x. Okay. So that is this one. Right? I put g, right? We can have g and we put it into f. Okay? Now we're going to do this. We're going to take f and put it into g. So I'm going to start writing out g. Right? So I'm going to write 5 parentheses minus 45. And inside, instead of x, right, instead of x, we're going to take this f and put it in there. All right, so I'm going to put f inside of g. So f is 1/5 x plus 9. So here is f, and it's inside of g. So that's what we're doing right here. F inside of g. So now I distribute 5 times 1/5, right? So those cross out, and so I get x. And then now I've got to do 5 times 9 is 45, and then minus 45. And then that adds up to 0, and so I have x. All right? So what happened was, right, so in conclusion, or the summary of this is f of g of x equals g of f of x, which equals x. Okay, these were equal, and they both equaled x. They were equal to each other, and not only that, but they equaled x. Okay, and that is a definition of an inverse. So are they an inverse? Yes. All right. Because f of g of x equals g of f of x, which equals x. And that is the end of the review. Okay, that is the end of our function unit. Good job. Good work. And now you're ready for that test.